Going to Kansas City. If I could, I could, I could, I could. I'm going to Kansas City.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Chopping It Up with the Cleavers. My name is Emmanuel Cleaver III.
And I'm Emil Cleaver.
Check us out most places you get your podcast, and make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chopping It Up with the Cleavers.
It helps us bring more content, helps us grow the channel. So please, if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button.
Today, we're going to have a conversation. We're chopping it up with State Representative Michael Johnson of Missouri, State Representative of the 23rd District. So
we did this interview earlier this week, so check it out. Let us know. We'll catch you on the other side.
All right, today we have with us State Representative Michael Johnson of here in Missouri, 23rd District. Glad to have you with us. Those that don't know, we went to Philander Smith College, now Philander Smith University together. We won't tell you about those days. That's a whole nother life. But glad to have you here with us.
Glad to be here. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, so just wanted to start off, you know, you're in politics and down in Jefferson City. What made you decide to get in politics? I know you have family history, but what made you decide to jump into it?
Man, I was minding my own business. What do they say? Living your best life, or at least attempting to. Doing insurance, running my little small company, working part-time at 2 jobs, and came out of work one day and said, was talking to one of my friends and stated that, you know, I want to give back. You know, I want to do more because, you know, growing up, being around freedom and things like that, you've always been involved. And then from there, once you've gotten older, you know, you start to venture out and do, you know, your own community work. And I was doing that, you know, back to school things, little block parties, different stuff for the kids. And then I just said I wanted more. And on the way to the car, it wasn't 3 minutes later, the phone rang, and it was 3 women on the phone asking me to run. And, you know, you get 3 women on the phone, you know, it's serious.
Yeah. As soon as you answer the call.
Yeah. I said, you know, let me pray about it. Give me a day, let me pray on it. I prayed on it right then and there while I was still in the car, called back, and then I went and filed the next day. So here we are.
Was anybody surprised? Were the people around you surprised when you told them you were running or anything?
Come on, man. You know, it was crazy. Everybody said, no, not you. You know, I just, you know, they said, are you serious? They thought it was April Fool's Day, but no, it was for real. And so, I mean, I still get it a little bit today, but I still haven't had that shell shock moment. Like I'm here, you know, trying to make a difference. You know, I just know that that's all I want to do is make a difference, and I would do it for free.
You hadn't, it didn't hit you. You had to have shell shock when you walked in the State House for the first time as a rep. Like
it felt like home.
Okay.
You know, and I just walked around with at first, you know, I had a real big beard. You know, my campaign management team, you know, discussed me.
I'm sure
moving it. You know, so now I've got to grow it back. But yeah, they just gave me a platform and said, this is everything you need to do. Just do it. And they thought they were going to get a lot of feedback from me, you know, as far as pushback. But I just followed everything that they said. And then once I got to the Capitol, I let it grow back a little bit. And then they said, well, who's the bald head guy with the beard walking around with the notepad? And that was just me. And still to this day, I'm out there with a notepad. And I look at it as an opportunity to help our people. So I'm more than willing to do exactly that.
Oh.
So now, Jefferson City, we talk about Jefferson City all the time and politics all the time. So, I mean, it's kind of crazy. So I'm gonna just go ahead and get into it. I mean, some of these politicians on the right. I mean, we live in the state. People say there's somebody on the radio that says the craziest people in all the world come from Harlem and Florida, but I would say Missouri is not too far away from that. When
Right.
Harlem.
you
I
deal
hadn't
with
heard
the
Harlem.
no,
Yeah, I
it was.
mean,
I think it was either Brooklyn or Florida, all of Florida, and but I would put Missouri close to that just because of the um, our laws, some of the laws that we have here,
yeah,
as far as gun laws and some of those things. But how is it dealing with some of those far right conservatives down in Jefferson City?
it's crazy. I mean, it's bananas. You know, it's more than the average person could imagine. The type of pieces of legislation that you hear running and echoing throughout committees and out, throughout the chamber. It's crazy, and you like, well, you're asking yourself, well, doesn't some of this legislation you're pushing, won't it affect your own families or people within your district, and they are still willing to do it. So uh, it's quite shocking, but I try my best to keep emotion out of it and understand that whatever it is that we can do to cross those lines in a fair act and be able to get things done uh, that are more bipartisan, if anything, or if it's something that, even if it is quid pro quo, you don't want it to be anything that's going to jeopardize anyone. A lot of times when we deal with legislation, it's us. In order to receive, you have to either give up something, and that's even with the budget. If money's taken or given somewhere, it's usually taken from somewhere else. So it's a lot of times to another organization or another district's loss. So you just have to keep a level head, and you have to understand that the business side of it is that you still need to cross those lines in order to get something done. And you try to find the most sane pieces of legislation that you can, and you try to work with that as well, as far as having those opportunities to be able to reciprocate.
Missouri is a pretty right state. So, I mean, how hard is it for a Democrat in the Jeff City to get something done? I mean, are there some that are willing to reach across the aisle and work together?
Most definitely. And what you do is, and that's when you have to tell people outside of being in the legislation realm. That's when you have to have those opportunities outside of the Capitol to get to know one another and figure out if there are any mutual benefits that we can bring back to our districts, and have those opportunities to have those conversations and actually hash out and make good pieces of legislation. So there's some to attach myself to some of those individuals as well. And it's not as hard as you think. It's just the fact that you have to get over that, bypass any type of stereotypes, and which aren't necessarily stereotypes because it is difficult, but the stereotypes that it can't be done are the ones that I'm talking about.
What are some of the biggest issues facing Black folk in Missouri relates to what's happening in the state?
At the Capitol, there are, several initiatives underway that aim to, on a positive note, be able to impact our Black communities. For instance, we're working on the criminal justice reform to address the systemic inequalities and the equal access to healthcare and economic development as well. So those are just a few of the things. And as far as the economic development, it's a big part of what we're trying to do, but we're trying to do it from a standpoint of sustainability. And we got a lot of programs that are they're targeting minority-owned businesses as well that will be beneficial to them to be able to sustain those businesses. I'm sure y'all feel the same way about this. I hate to see impactful Black businesses open or minority-owned businesses open that are being impactful for that community, and then they're gone in 6 months.
Right.
You know, hate to see that. So it's a lot of times I hear us saying we need another Black Wall Street. We do, but we always talk about, well, we need economic. You know, we got to have our own ecosystem. Well, you can't have an ecosystem without an economy. So we can't put the cart before the horse in those situations. We have to make sure that we are making money and that our communities are thriving. And that means that we have to have an economy first.
Yeah, and I see that you helping the small business owner, the sponsor bill that you have for first time business owners saving accounts. So I mean that's one of the ways fighting for economic growth in our community.
Right.
And also, I worked in the school district for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
For a long time. And I see another one of the sponsored bills is that you require school districts to excuse students with mental health behavior concerns. And
Right. And it does, and it may not say it there, but those are supervised as well.
Okay.
Supervised. We don't just want to release children from school without making sure that they are supervised. But they do need opportunities to have those type of days.
Yeah, mental health is an issue.
I worked in schools, and a lot of these kids have mental health issues, definitely, and we need more mental health.
And it slipped my mind. I'm pretty sure there's a piece of legislation out there similar to this, but it slipped my mind, and I'll be on it first thing December 1 when we can pre-file, is to also add, or even if we have to take one school counselor out, depending on how what they're willing to bend to be able to give us. But we need a mental health counselor in the schools as well.
Absolutely. It's long overdue. You would think that would be something you would see in every school district all over.
You would think, most definitely.
But I guess this country has been slow to address mental health issues. So now it's a crisis.
We waited so long, and I think that back in the late 70s, I think that the government took away a lot of our mental health facilities, across the country, and I think that we've been affected ever since, and here we are today. And also dealing with the pandemic, I think everybody has post-traumatic stress disorders. Everybody.
Absolutely.
Even if it didn't affect you, you knew someone in your family or a close friend that it did affect, or even they lost their lives from it. So, we're all dealing with something.
I'm of the belief that everyone needs at least an annual mental health checkup, just like we have an annual physical.
Totally.
So much goes on during the course of a year.
Mm-hmm. And I think it should be given free.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a benefit to the state, to the country.
That's right. Yeah. We'll have better opportunities for people to decompress, vent, tell their stories, have someone actually hear them, listen to them, comprehend, and actually those in the medical field who will actually be able to service them, as opposed to just talking to a family member who's just there to lend a shoulder and an ear.
Right.
Another thing that we talked about is the pay for teachers in Missouri. What is there anything that's going on there, or higher pay for people in the education field?
Period. Across the board is needed. So, but most definitely for our educators, they just recently, it's up to I think it went from 35 to 40 or 45, but that's a drop in the bucket. That's not nearly enough. I think that you get the educators the educators that can make a difference could still be right in front of you, but they also are dealing with post-traumatic stress disorders and dealing with the family and dealing with the way our school systems have been set up to somewhat to a point of being systemically moving the needle per se in order to push education in certain directions. Everybody deserves the equal right to a fair and great education, not just an education, but a great education. And so at that point, I think teachers deserve, seriously, a heck of a lot more pay. And that's for sure. Even better benefits. I think that's needed. And then you'll get the greatness out of each educator.
Yeah, makes sense.
Teachers made a whole lot of money, then you would get the smartest people going into that field.
Plain and simple. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
And a lot more of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
But our teachers are going through a lot. I mean, I can't imagine in today's world being a teacher.
Right.
Has to
and
be
that's what people say. Exactly. So and Emmanuel, it's exactly like when people say, I can't imagine what it's like you going down there, driving back and forth to Jefferson City and dealing with the people inside of the Capitol. I feel the same way for our educators, the administrative staff, everyone, the whole educational system,
Right.
I feel that same way like I feel about mental health and about our Missourians that are unhoused.
So, we've been talking about elections since it's an election year and all that's going on. So we hear about Missouri. Of course, some people say misery, depending on what's going on in the state. But what, in terms of national issues, what do you think there's anything in particular that's being discussed in the presidential race that would impact Missouri? Or is it all? I mean, all of it.
I think personally, all of it is going to be will impact Missouri, be it negative or be it positive. Now we know the ways it could be negative. I'm sure we'd all agree, and I don't want to build on that as far as talking about it, because sometimes it could give a sense of fear, and we don't want that. But the outcome of the presidential race will, undoubtedly influence Missouri's political landscape. It's crucial that Missourians are able to engage in the electoral process and consider how each vote and each candidate's policies will align for their state's needs. But we also realize that our state's needs aren't aligned throughout that democracy that easily. We understand that we are in a red state, but I'm not one that pushes the issue and say, oh, woe is me, we can't do anything because it's a red state. It was once a blue state, and it can be blue again. But all it is the process of not giving up. It's getting all the no's out the way. And that means, if they're not for the better benefit of Missourians totally, then they're not for Missouri. And I think sometimes we make this difficult when it's really a simple process, not overthinking it and just trying to be able to get some real things done and not quitting and not letting the stigma of, well, our backs are against the wall, it's we're the minority. And that's just something that I don't entrust in. So my attitude is not, well, man, I got to go down back here again. It's like, no, God woke me up. I get to go. And so with that attitude, it'll never be faltering because of the fight that we're up against. I look forward to it each week.
Right. Well, what do you say to people who say, I don't like either of the presidential candidates? You've heard all of it. They're too old. I don't like any. So maybe I'm a sit out or looking for a third party candidate. What do you say to people like that?
Well, nobody is picking. If say you're not really for Trump, but you don't want to invest in voting, because you've lost faith or you've lost hope in it, then you have to tell yourself that if I don't go out and place a vote, then whatever happens, I shouldn't have any concerns over how it affects my life, my family's life, my friends, or me as a Missourian, period. Because you have to be vested in voting, and voting on the local level impacts on the federal level, even the laws and the litigation. So it's just things in legislation that we have to make sure that we're putting the right people in place, and that they need to have the right predecessors in place, because this is not something that you're going to blink your eyes and it's going to be different overnight. It's a process. And so we have to be a part of that process. If not, we shouldn't have a say so in anything that goes on, whether it affects us in a good way or a bad way. Even if it was something that you benefited from, but you didn't know you would because you didn't vote. And you found out, through others, because you didn't want to focus in on an opportunity to make a difference, period.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who are turned off by the whole political process.
Right. And I take it away from that, because I tell people that we don't have to have a scheduled, appointment to have a meeting. So I think it's for everybody who is an elected official to engage the people and not just sit back and give them an opportunity to see, because maybe they lost hope. So you got to go back out and be able to try to re-engage with the people, and then let them actually get to know who you are and what you really stand for. And if it's for them and it's genuine, the energy, the synergy will breed that energy. That vibration will be there. So you will know, okay, all of your doubts, and hold me accountable. I tell all of my constituents, I can't do everything, but it's so many of them that'll let you know I do whatever I can. And a lot of times doesn't have anything necessarily to do with me being able to be effective and help them on a state level, but to help them as a human being.
Right.
I'm gonna switch the topic just a little bit, because this is something that we talk about a lot on the show. There's recently a shooting at I think a Northeast high school game, or North Kansas City high
Where
school
you went?
game.
No,
No,
that
it
one,
wasn't Northeast. It was North Kansas.
that one was in North Kansas City,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
And then there was of course, the Chiefs parade. But people keep talking about it after all these mass shootings. Is there anything in Missouri, any legislation that anyone's working on that would change the gun laws in this state? Because of now, you can just go in and, if you're 18, you can pretty much go in and buy a gun and walk home with it.
This is true. So first of all, we have a House Joint Resolution. It's House Joint Resolution 167, and it proposes a constitutional amendment relating to all firearms. Outside of that, I also have a piece of legislation. Let me see here. I got a little list here together. That piece of legislation is modifies provision relating to. Okay, here it is. It would. So what it would basically do, first let me tell you about it. What it would basically do is it would ban underage marketing or marketing period for that fact, like on the black web, on the dark web, or on any internet site, period, the marketing of guns and bullets. Period. Just there will be no way possible especially for our underage children, and for those young adults also, if they don't see it a lot of times. So say for instance, you got a young man or a young woman who's having mental health issues in school. They feel like they're being bullied. They can get on the dark web. They can purchase parts of a weapon, or they can make it or be able to have the capability of putting a switch on a weapon, which will make it a fully automatic weapon. They wouldn't have opportunities to see these things. Then that way, it's just like with anything. If you see it, a lot of times you think it's attainable, but the less that you see it, the less attainable you would think that it is possible. So if we can remove that for our ammunition and as well as our guns. So not only the marketing, but also the sales. I think that would be a big push in the right direction as well, especially here in Missouri. And of course, we need gun laws. And I've been teaming up with some um, local organizations that are dealing with some pieces of legislation that we'll look forward to pushing coming up in our next session that will also alleviate a lot of the gun violence that we see here in Missouri. And they're two good pieces of legislation that I look forward to implementing my piece of legislation with and pushing as well.
We need it. Absolutely.
Me too.
Before we jump into unsung heroes, I mean, this is the national question. I just heard it. So it's fresh on my mind. You all may have heard it already, and it may not be new to you. But I heard a presidential candidate talking about if he's not elected, it'll be a bloodbath. I haven't watched the entire speech, so I don't know about the entire context. But have you heard
It
about
doesn't
that
matter
or
what the
heard
content.
what?
So yeah, President, he said it during the speech.
Who
I mean,
calling somebody a president? Who's
well, former President Trump, he said it in the speech.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing new. I mean, January 6th is real. The possibility of that happening again is real, I think. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, the rhetoric is pretty
I
bad.
think that if it's happened once, it's most definitely set into reality that it can happen again. Now,
So would you be worried? Are you worried? I mean, because Missouri's a pretty right state. I mean, if they storm the Capitol in Jeff City.
of course, and I'm more worried about it being an open public facility, and not only the staff, the elected officials, everyone in the building, but the public with children. The same type of situation that we had when I was at the Super Bowl parade, and I was helping the elderly back into the building when the shootings were taking place, making sure that they weren't trampled. And then a young man fell, a young gentleman fell and dislocated his hip, getting him up, setting him in a chair, pulling him to the side to safety. It was crazy. I mean, but luckily, my veteran leadership, something kicked in, God, along with that. And I just immediately started becoming a public servant again and just helping as many individuals as I could. So I would hate to see that if they were to storm any Capitol or any building.
Yeah, it's
So we got to make sure that security's on point, and then we have to have things in place for ourselves as well.
Well, so I mean, during these crazy times, our father's been in politics, pretty much all our life.
Right.
And knowing you might not even want to talk about it, but have there been any threats to you? I mean, as a elected official.
No, but I've been called some internet threats, some like Facebook funking as they call it. But just, I better do this and I better do that. But normally it's from people from the right of the aisle.
Yeah, I figured that.
Yeah, unfortunately, but stuff like that, what can discourage a lot of people who might be, we need to go in politics. Yeah, if that's the new way that, you're going to get threats, you're going to be talked about. Why am I going to do that?
That is true. And then, okay, so if a person does go after that, 9 times out of 10, if they've been scrutinized or going through things with that nature or being bullied prior to the process, and they still go, then they're pretty genuine. That's how I would look at it. If you've been ostracized prior and you still are willing to go fight the fight, then those are the type of people you want on board.
Yeah, you're right about that. You're right about that. So this wasn't on there before. We talked about an unsung person, but because I know just a little bit about hip hop, I got to ask you a hip hop question. and it's gonna be an easy one, so you won't have to think. But who is your favorite rapper of all time? Now, normally I might ask who's the top five, but I'm not even gonna say just your favorite.
The
Who do you
favorite,
like?
that's why would you think that would be easy? I mean, because that could change every other
Well, yeah, I
month.
guess so.
Well, if right now today, I'm gonna go with a revolutionist by the name of Tupac Shakur.
Okay, he was a revolutionary. Yeah, he had a lot of powerful songs.
Very powerful.
Yeah,
I mean, I heard people that say that they don't like Tupac, but he has a song that they can relate to. I'm sure, and they all tell me that,
okay.
and it's okay. He's not your favorite, but I'm sure he has a song that you felt it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably the most famous rapper of all time, I would think.
yeah.
Man,
I don't think. Yeah,
okay.
you could
Well,
argue
hold
that.
on. I'm throwing the question right back to both of y'all.
Damn.
So my favorite rapper is Common, just because I can connect and relate to his subject matter, even way back when he dropped can I borrow a dollar?
Yeah, I can.
So
Okay, okay,
I've always just connected with
right.
it. Now I got some
So,
others that
yeah, so if I picked one, I would probably have to pick Tupac too. Um, yeah, I mean, he's too versatile. I mean, the subject matter goes from hardcore to soft,
Right, right. Yeah, you like is that the same individual? Is he's a loving individual on this song? What? Yeah.
yeah, I mean, so yeah, I think that's what makes him the best to me. My
Right, yeah,
favorite.
right. I mean, he has a cornucopia of styles. You
Yeah,
know. Yeah,
I,
I did Common too though because I kind of I grew up with him too,
yeah,
yeah.
and that Chicago flavor.
yeah. No, I mean I'm in agreement with you. If you said the best rapper, then I'd probably say Tupac. But uh, so
You
yeah,
said favorite, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Uh, but he had some stuff. So
Oh yeah,
we started it for Black History Month, just talking about some unsung heroes, people that don't often get mentioned. And it doesn't have to be necessarily Black history, but just people, unsung heroes. So in the past, some of the episodes we talked about people like Vernon Johns, and I think Oscar Mache or
Yeah,
Michaud,
hmm
however you pronounce it.
Oscar Michaud. Yeah, might as well just say
Yeah,
Oscar Michaud. So yeah, we just talk
naming.
about people that some people may not have heard of. Oscar Michaud was the first real black filmmaker. I mean, there were others before him, but first great black filmmaker, I guess you can say. But yeah, so we just talk about unsung heroes, people. Everybody talks about Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, and they're all good. Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, that's all good.
right.
But mine this week, I'll start it off, and then I guess whoever's next can go. But mine is someone named Tony Brown. I don't know if you've heard him, but he had a show called Tony's Brown's Journal. It was on the air for 30 years. Uh,
hmm
he was a producer, television host, and it was his show. He owned the show, Tony Brown Productions, which is what I like. Of course, I have a video production company. But it started out as being called Black Journal, and then it was Tony Brown's Journal, some of the topics and the show topics. And he was kind of revolutionary. He pushed the button. They, talked about Martin Luther King, the black men and AIDS, lynching of Emmett Till, assassination of Malcolm X throughout the years, different things. But on TV for many, many years on PBS. And like I said, had his own production company. He owned what he put out. Tony
Nice.
Brown. So yeah, that's my unsung hero for the day, Tony Brown.
Nice.
Well, I can go. I'm gonna go with someone people in Arkansas might be familiar, but outside of Arkansas, people are not familiar. So, talk about one, Frank Scott Jr., who is the um, first elected mayor in Little Rock. But if you go to even before them, you have a woman who was elected in Little Rock. Well, wasn't elected; she was appointed several years ago. Lottie Shackelford. You all, I don't know if you all got a chance to meet her.
Then isn't there a street named after her?
Lottie, it might be, there should be.
Mhm.
She was appointed mayor in 1987. So
Yeah.
technically, she was the first Black mayor, although it was an appointment there. But just the history of her and serving in that position. And in
Mhm.
Arkansas, that's the
Right.
thing about it. In Arkansas, we're
Yeah.
talking about in the
80.
80s, early 90s, which is a pretty amazing thing.
Yeah.
And
No,
of
it is.
course, it's worth noting she graduated from Philander Smith
Smith.
College,
Yeah.
Smith University now, but first Black woman, Black person to serve as mayor, appointed mayor in the late 80s. So Lottie Shackelford, for those
Lottie Shackle.
who
Nice.
need something.
Nice. Well, mine, a lot of people do know of her, but not everyone. And it's just like uh, it's just like with the Bruce R. Watkins Center and with the Black Archives. As many people know about it, there's so many that don't know about it. You know, and that's something that uh, you know we all work on. But one of mine is Lucille Bluford.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and because I grew up in the library on 31st and 31st and Prospect, that was my library. So just having that connection, and now also advocating for in our budget for uh, finances to be able to reconstruct the whole brick and mortar there at Lucille Bluford's library. So it's personal. And so just giving her another shout out. Lucille Bluford, you know, being a pioneering journalist, a civil rights activist who fought against segregation in education, and championed the rights through, you know, through her hard work. It's just something that it's always been dear to me. And then also being the publisher at the Kansas City Call, you know, just the magnitude of which she laid that pavement for us to be able to have an education and deserve to continue to have a higher education. You know, a lot of times people are like, well, we're like in today's world, like with AI and in education, you want to make sure that it's used correctly. And I think that if Lucille Bluford was alive and here with us today, that she makes sure that we're using things in the correct manner, be it from our textbooks. I think that she would have an intricate part to play in our educational systems across not only here in Missouri but across the country. So mine's going to be my hero would be Lucille Bluford.
Yeah, and the thing about it is her the impact she had in Kansas City. Like you said, a lot of people know. I'm afraid the younger generations might forget what she did,
Exactly.
and even not even the younger generations. It is amazing that a lot of people know in Kansas City know what she's done and who she is, who
Yeah.
she was, but a lot of people have no earthly idea.
No idea. And so, you know, I think it's up to brothers like us to make sure that we do as much as we can to grassroots market that and advocate and carry that message and that torch.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to note Shackelford Road was named after Mayor Lottie Shackelford.
Okay.
That you remember good, y'all remember driving that road when we were
Yeah,
down
yeah.
there?
Yeah, I
Yes.
remember it.
Yeah, that was named after her. Okay.
Yeah, I remember a lot of roads we
Yeah, I remember
drove
those.
down
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, now that you say it, I remember it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember it. So
Yeah.
that's good.
Trips
That's
to
good
Pine
stuff.
Bluff. Yeah. All type of stuff.
Well, thank you for sharing with us. Like I said, we've been talking about the election since it's an election year, and just hearing from an elected official is always good.
Yeah.
What's going on in the state, and that one that we talked about. If you don't like either candidate, that a lot of people are saying. So I'm glad you shared your thoughts on that. But any final comments you want to share before we?
Most definitely. Most definitely. We are in a voting season, so I think that it's very imperative, and I implore everyone to get out and vote. Not only that, take people with you. Take a neighbor, take a friend, take a relative. If you can, take as many people, carpool, take as many people as you can. Get people registered while we still have an opportunity. Voter registration is just as important as it is to vote, because we need as many individuals as possible to care enough to make a difference. And you have no idea what a difference you can make by going and making sure that you vote. So that would be my final message.
Get out and vote, people.
Appreciate that.
Yep. And if you can't vote and you got a vehicle, then you take people that can vote.
Right. All right. Well,
Appreciate
appreciate
it,
it.
my brother.
Keep up the good
And
fight.
just hey, I appreciate it, gentlemen. And all church buses and vans need to be utilized on days to vote, to be going to pick up people and making sure that they get to those polls.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're actually going to meet with several pastors and churches to talk about that, but also registering.
Yes, sir.
Registering people from now until the deadline.
That's right. That's a race.
Yeah.
All right. Till next
Appreciate
time.
it. Keep up the
Most
good
definitely.
fight.
I love to be back on. Hey, I appreciate you.
Peace.
Peace.
Well, that's the show for today. We want to thank State Representative Michael Johnson for sharing. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chopping It Up with the Cleavers. Check us out most places you get your podcasts, and we'll be back soon and very soon.
Peace. Next time.
Here I come, that's where I'm from, yeah. I say I'm going.